Enjoy watching, subscribe, like, and write your impressions after watching/listening. Anna hadn't planned on meeting anyone that day, least of all someone like Alex, but fate had its own ideas. It started when her car coughed twice and died on a quiet two-lane just outside town. Late sun on the hood, heat rising off asphalt. She tried the ignition again, got nothing, and sighed, leaning against the fender, scrolling for roadside help. When she spotted the hand-painted sign a block down Alex's auto, half the bulbs out, but open, she walked into the smell of oil and warm metal, and found him under the hood of a lifted truck, shoulders broad, sleeves rolled high, arms streaked with grease, dark hair falling over his forehead. He glanced up at the bell over the door and smiled. "You're having a bad day," he said, wiping his hands. "You could say that," she answered, and explained the breakdown. He listened, nodding. "Yeah, I can take a look, but that engine sounded stubborn. I'll get it towed," he added, and she followed him back. When the rollback dropped her car in the bay, Alex slid beneath the hood with a kind of quiet focus that made it impossible not to watch. He teased while he worked, "You look like you've got somewhere important to be. Secret mission or a date?" "Neither," she laughed, tapping her phone. "Job interview. Actually can't be late." "Then I better be your hero," he said with a quick wink that shouldn't have landed but did. The diagnosis wasn't great, a failing pump and a part he didn't have on hand. Sun dropped toward evening, painting the shop doors orange. "I'm afraid you're stuck with me," he said, handing her bottled water. "Parts in the next county. I can grab it in the morning." She frowned. "So I just wait?" "You could wait here," he offered, "or I drive you, but you strike me as someone who doesn't leave her car behind." "You're not wrong," she said. So they waited together. He cracked open an old radio, low classic rock static. She perched on a dented rolling stool, and he pulled cold pizza from a mini fridge. "Not fancy," he warned. "Better than starving." She sat on the hood beside him, eating, laughing, grease under his nails, flour dust from the crust on hers. He watched her foot tap with restless energy and said, "Most people would be freaking out right about now. You're calm." "I like that. Maybe because I feel like I'm in good hands," she said, and felt heat climb her neck. His smile said he heard it. Later, when they stepped outside for air, the sky split open, lightning rain in sheets. They bolted back under the short metal awning, soaked within seconds. Anna's white blouse clung scandal close. She laughed, breathless rain in her lashes. Alex looked once, then away, cleared his throat. "You're drenched. Hold up." He grabbed a clean shop towel and gently blotted water from her hair, from the back of her neck. Careful fingers, calloused but soft on her skin. A shiver ran straight through her. "You okay?" he asked, softer than before. She held his gaze. "Is that a line you use on all your customers?" "No," he said, "just the ones who make broken cars feel worth fixing." The storm wouldn't quit. The roads were slick, and she lived too far. He said, "I've got a small place upstairs above the shop. It's basic, but dry. You're welcome to crash till morning." She hesitated, then heard thunder, and nodded thanks. He led her up a narrow stair, past shelves of parts, to a compact loft with a worn leather couch, clean sheets folded on a cot, a kettle, a window rattling with rain. He brewed tea, and they settled on the couch, lights, low music muffled through the floorboards below. "So tell me something not in your interview answers," he said. She confessed. She painted once before life got fast, he admitted. He played guitar before the shop swallowed hours. They traded little pieces, work, disappointments. Why she moves so much, why he never left town. The rain drummed steady. She stood to head toward the cot, and he caught her hand, not tight, just there. "Anna," he said, "you don't have to go yet." She stopped, turned, felt the slow current that had been building since the tow truck, her hand still in his thumb brushing her knuckles, faint, deliberate. She sat again, closer now, the cold tea forgotten between them. He said, "Most nights, it's just me down there turning wrenches, thinking maybe that's it, but tonight doesn't feel like just another night." She tilted her head. "Fate, then?" "Maybe," he grinned. "Maybe, or maybe I just don't want you leaving before I know if you're real." When she shifted to set her cup aside, her shoulder grazed as he glanced at her mouth, stopped himself. She saw it, smiled, and said, "Do you always stop halfway when you want something?" Not always, he answered, and lifted a hand to her cheek, pausing long enough to be refused. She didn't. He kissed her light, first tasting rain and heat. Her fingers curled in his damp shirt, pulling him closer. The kiss deepened, slow, certain, like they were learning a song too good to rush. The way parted for air, foreheads touching, both smiling. I don't think this was part of your repair estimate, she teased. Extra service. No charge, he said, laughing low. The thunder rolled. They pulled a blanket over their shoulders, sat pressed hip to hip, hands laced, listening to the stormy air between them, warmer than the room. Then her phone buzzed, screen lighting the dim loft. Ryan, the name flashed, a message. I miss you. Where are you? Please call me. Alex read her face. Not the text. Someone waiting on you? He asked, not accusing, just steady. It's complicated. She said, we were something once. I left because I didn't know if it was right anymore, and now I'm here with you. The silence that followed was heavy, but not cold. I don't want to be the reason you run from something, he said, but I don't want to stop what's happening here. Either. Anna closed the phone, set it face down, and took his hand. Maybe I'm not running. Maybe I finally stopped, she said, and leaned back into him, the rain easing to a hush while engines cooled in the dark below. And a night that began with a broken car settled into something neither of them had expected, and neither of them wanted to let go of yet. The rain had finally stopped by dawn, the sky bruised with clouds drifting slowly apart, sunlight breaking through in tired golden streaks. Anna stirred on the couch, the blanket still tangled around her legs. She blinked at the quiet of the loft, her mind replaying the warmth of Alex's hands, the low rumble of his voice, and the kiss that still felt fresh on her lips. For a moment, she wondered if it had been a dream, but then she saw him leaning against the kitchen counter, shirtless, his shoulders backlit by the rising sun as he poured coffee into two chipped mugs. Morning, he said softly when he saw her awake, his grin crooked and easy. Coffee's terrible, but it's all I've got. She sat up, brushing her hair back. After last night, I think I can handle bad coffee. He handed her a mug, and for a moment they just stood there drinking in silence, not awkward, but full of something new, their eyes meeting between sips like a quiet conversation only they could understand. Car's fixed, Alex said finally. I stayed up after you fell asleep, thought I'd surprise you, but he trailed off as if finishing the sentence meant she'd leave. But now I have no excuse to stay, she finished for him, her voice soft. Unless you don't need an excuse, he said, his tone halfway between a question and hope. Before she could answer, the loft was interrupted by the roar of a car pulling up outside, gravel crunching under tires. Alex frowned, setting down his mug, and glanced out the window. Anna's stomach dropped. The license plate, the shine of the black SUV, she knew it immediately. Ryan, she whispered, barely breathing. Alex turned to her, brows furrowed. Ryan, the guy from your phone. She nodded slowly. I didn't tell him where I was. I swear I didn't think he'd. A loud knock echoed through the shop below, sharp and urgent. Alex's jaw tightened. Stay here, he said, moving toward the stairs. Ryan stood at the door, tall and polished, hair slick from the rain, his expensive jacket spotless despite the storm. His eyes swept over the garage and landed on Alex. Where's Anna? He asked coolly, like he had every right to demand. Alex didn't flinch. Who's asking? I'm Ryan, he said flatly. I'm here for her. She's been ignoring my calls. Maybe she doesn't want to talk to you, Alex said, crossing his arms, his tone steady, but with an edge. Anna appeared behind him, then her voice breaking the tension. Ryan, stop this. Ryan's eyes softened when he saw her, but only slightly. Anna, please just come home. We can fix this, whatever this is. It's not you. Anna's heart pounded. She looked at Alex, then back at Ryan. You don't get to tell me what's me anymore, Ryan. We were done before I drove out of town. You just didn't want to admit it. Ryan's jaw clenched. And this mechanic is what you want now. Alex glanced at her, waiting, not angry, not defensive, just waiting. Anna stepped closer to Alex. Yes, she said finally, her voice steady. He's what I want. The silence that followed was a storm all its own. Ryan's fists tightened, but he didn't step forward. He just shook his head and walked out, his SUV spitting gravel as he drove away. Anna let out a breath. She didn't know she'd been holding Alex. Looked at her. That was intense. "I'm sorry," she said quickly. "I didn't know he'd follow me here." He shrugged. "Not your fault, but now I guess I know where we stand." She smiled faintly and reached for his hand. "You do." With Ryan gone, the tension dissolved like mist. Alex finished tightening the last bolt on her car and stepped back, wiping his hands. "She's good to go." Anna traced the hood with her fingertips. "Feels weird to just leave." "Then don't," he said simply. Her breath caught. "What do you mean?" "I mean, maybe this isn't just a breakdown, maybe it's a start," he said, meeting her gaze. Anna didn't answer right away. She just looked at him and then smiled. "You're terrible at metaphors, you know that." "Yeah, but I'm good with cars, and I think I'm okay with you too," he replied. They laughed, and the moment stretched warm and unhurried. Later, when they drove her car out of the garage, she insisted he take the passenger seat. They hit the open road with the windows down, the world smelling of wet asphalt and pine trees. They stopped at a diner miles outside town, sharing pancakes and too much coffee. She caught him looking at her when she pretended not to notice, and each time she did, her chest tightened like it was a new discovery. By evening they were back at his loft, rain clouds gathering again. They stood by the window watching the world darken. "Guess storms like to follow us," she said. "Good," he said, sliding an arm around her. "Means we have an excuse to stay in." And when they kissed this time, it wasn't cautious, it wasn't uncertain, it was a promise that whatever started with a broken engine was only just beginning. Subscribe to the channel to follow new stories. Maybe the new story will be even more interesting.